Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. Lordy, the more that I research, I don't know if you want to use the word bizarre or scary, frightening, downright insane. So I've been reading this book, Eustace Mullins, New History of the Jews, Series 253, Part 2, Freemasonry and Satanism series. So that's 253 authors. And the stuff I've been reading in this book is just too bizarre. So I'll just start reading, and then I have some clips to share. And I'll let you decide if this stuff is bizarre and the danger that we're in. Among humans, the host acts no less desperately and unthinkingly. Among humans, the host, that would mean if you invited some people to your home, and you were entertaining them, maybe they were sleeping there, eating there, you would be the host. The host acts no less desperately and unthinkingly. So let's say you did invite some people to your home, and maybe another couple had a young son who was a bit crazed, didn't want to go along with normalcy in society, was revolting, and he started smashing things in your home and threatening people, grabbed a kitchen knife, and you're the host. What would you do? Tell them to get him the heck out of your house, call the police? You would be angry, wouldn't you? So that's the first sentence of what I'm reading here. So what are they talking about? The host acts no less desperately and unthinkingly. And when you get in a situation like that where somebody's actually in your home and they've gone crazed and they pulled out the knife and they're frightening everybody, you don't think rationally. You need to take emergency action. And people do that. Nations do that throughout history. And apparently there are some peoples who can instigate these situations to get people to rise up. That's how you create revolutions. There are forces behind the scenes doing these things. Yes? No? Seriously? What do you think? Are you thinking? And I know a lot of people who watch my videos are awake. I'm probably talking to the choir. They say it, preaching to the choir. But maybe somebody new will come along and see the video and maybe wake up. So back to the book. The New History of the Jews. Eustace Mullins, a well-known author, journalist, Washington, D.C., businessman, etc. The first reaction of the Gentile community, they call anybody who's not a Jewish person a Gentile. That sounds like gentlemen. Gentle. So we non-Jews are gentle, Gentile, gentlemen, gentlewomen. The first reaction of the Gentile community to the Jew is panic. Wow. Then comes anger, and finally violence. The panic ensues when the community discovers that it harbors a dangerous and unknown quality. One which obviously means it no good. First paragraph. Anger follows. The community will attack this parasite and drive it out. Like I said, a well-known author who has written many books. Journalist, newspaper, businessman. He wrote these words. Then the violence takes place. The traditional pogrom against the Jew. So throughout the past couple thousand years, wherever the Jews found a home in a host country, didn't take too long before they were banished, exiled, even massacred. You have to ask yourself why. At least I think we should, because apparently these are the peoples who are controlling our world today and are planning on the global world order. And not all Jewish people. A lot of Jewish people are fighting this. It's just because they were descendants of Jewish people, they still call themselves Jews. But what makes a person a Jewish person? Is it a race, like being a white person or a black person or a yellow person or a red person? Somebody from Alaska, an Eskimo, or the Yucatan in Mexico? Mayan or Peruvian or Aborigine from Australia? Or is it a religion? And if it's a religion, what kind of religion is it? Apparently, according to the Encyclopedia Judaica, it's something called the Kabbalah, the mystery religion of Babylon, i.e. the enemies of God. Even in the Bible it says belonging to the synagogue of Satan. Jesus accused them of being of your father the serpent. So when the people who worship the serpent wind up living among different peoples, the reaction is violence, as it says here. And it says here, the Jew says, Oi, Gwat. This is one of the oldest Yiddish phrases which translates, oh, violence. The Jew knows when he enters the Gentile community that sooner or later his presence there will provoke violence. Consequently, he is prepared for it. The Gentile community attacks the Jews, but does little real damage. A few Jews are tarred and feathered. Some of their buildings are burned. The Jews do not care. They know that the Gentiles will have to pay for this. Revenge. Where are we today? 2,000 years of prosecution, persecution, massacres, banishment, exiles. And apparently, it looks like revenge is in the future. Because these people, in one form or another, were run out of Britain and run out of Spain and run out of France and run out of Italy, 90, 100 different countries and places all over the world for 2,000 years. Even in the Tennessee territories during the war between the North and the South in the 1860s in the United States of America, General Ulysses Grant banished the Jews from the Tennessee territories, and that would have included Mississippi, Kentucky, the whole surrounding areas. Why did Ulysses Grant, the general, banish them from the Tennessee territories? The Jews do not care. They know that the Gentiles will have to pay for this. Now the Gentile leaders tell their community that the Jews have learned their lesson. They will behave themselves. The Gentiles settle down once more to a quiet existence. But the program has been valuable to the Jews. It has revealed to them just who they must fear among the Gentiles. The natural leaders who can respond to a threat of this kind. And if anybody thinks I enjoy reading this, I do not enjoy reading this. And anybody who wants to say that I have hatred towards anybody, I do not have hatred towards anybody. I do oppose Satanism, gotta get it right here, synagogue of Satan, Lucifer, and I oppose the activity to try to discredit and destroy Christianity and other religions, obviously the Islamic peoples and their countries in the Middle East after 9/11. So this has some kind of fulfillment of a biblical prophecy, all of this. And apparently there are plenty of clues that things are moving forward. Like I say all the time, like a freight train coming right at us. It's funny with the computer. When I put my hand up on my left, it shows up on my right. And it messes with my dexterity. When I want to move left, I'm moving right. FYI. The Jews have not been shaken at all by the uprising against them. Now they can take over the community. The parasite has extended its tentacles too deeply into the community to be removed by the angry mob. A few burnt buildings or a scorched behind. The parasite begins its stealthy undermine and destroy the natural leaders of the Gentile community. And apparently it's pretty obvious that these certain banksters and Zionists and peoples, elites, have taken over the U.S. government and the world's government, and they've used World War I and World War II and 9/11, assassinated many presidents and leaders all over the world and peoples. It is kind of convincing to believe that a bad day is coming, and there are a lot of warnings out there on YouTube videos, and even the president and the government warning us that the electric grid might go down for 6 months or longer, and all kinds of advanced technologies used for weapons, laser beams and microwaves and mind control and toxins and poisons in the air and in our food. It does seem like we're under attack. So I'm reading these words and I'm putting two to two together. And it just seems that we the people need to wake up. These leaders suddenly find that their fortunes are disappearing. Papers are discovered which prove that their property belongs to someone else. So the banksters eventually have loans on everything, so they actually own everything. Then they can destroy the economy so people can't pay back the loans. Then they reap in everything. They take everything. And they've done that about 8 or 9 times in the United States of America. Since 1913, December 21st, winter solstice, a occult witchcraft holiday, the solstices and the equinoxes. Not that there might be some benefits to it. I'm just saying, if you look up witchcraft holidays, occult holidays, you'll find that they're into these things. Their daughters are debauched, and wander off to the cities. Their reputations are ruined, and the Gentile community turns against them. So apparently they can destroy our leaders if our leaders do not go along and do what they're told. We all know that. We see it in the news. Even with that recent football coach, Kraft, being caught in a prostitute sting in Vero Beach, Florida, along with a lot of other elites. Why do you suppose they did that? Now some new leaders emerge among the Gentiles, so they can destroy the leadership of America and the world and put in new leadership, like they did all over the Middle East and many other countries, something called a puppet government. And it seems like the puppet governments are running everything everywhere right now. So we the people are in clear and present danger. To steal a line from a movie. Without exception, these are men suddenly come into good fortune. So they build these people up, give them millions and billions of dollars, and of course they're going to do what their puppet masters tell them and turn traitor to the people that they're supposed to serve. And without exception, their good fortune can be traced to the Jews. And again, I'm not anti-Semitic, and if I was, that would mean I hate all kinds of Arab people all over the Middle East, when only a small portion of them are actually Jewish. All the other Arabs are not Jewish. There's a lot of Arabs that are Christians, Buddhist, Hindu, atheist, and other religions, Zoroastrianism. So that means if you were anti-Semitic, you just don't like Arab peoples. So anyways, when they do put new people in charge in the government, and that's how you get to be an elected official these days, a senator, House of Representative, even the president, without exception these days, come into good fortune. And without exception, their good fortune can be traced to the Jews. Anyone who dares to oppose the new leaders shares the fate of the ruined ones. And Richie was from Boston. I was just looking at one of his videos, and apparently he's disclosing some of this material, which I will show some clips here in a few moments. And they're putting strikes on his videos, and they're taking down channels. It looks like the enforcement of the laws they want to pass, they're trying to get passed in the United States. They are passed all over a lot of countries in Europe. You can't talk bad about the Jewish people or the Zionist people and these elites. They've made everybody feel guilty concerning World War II when the truth is really not what the people know. The people only know what they're told, the deception. So anyways, so the people who oppose these people, their property is confiscated, their families are broken up, the community is persuaded that they are evil and dangerous men and women, and they are driven out. And this has been going on all over the world. People who speak up about this global world order and all these other stuff going on are demonized, even some of them assassinated, imprisoned, disappeared even. Thus, the host people, deprived of their loyal natural leaders, now finds itself under the iron control of men who in turn must answer to their Jewish masters. I added the word masters. So apparently they are in cahoots, and they brought us Freemasonry, Illuminati, Rosicrucians, and all these other secret societies and cults. And I plan on sharing that in this video. And they own the banking systems, the political parties, i.e. they use money, sex, power, control. Oh my, we're in trouble. These are my notes on this page. And the preparations for global world order include artificial intelligence, 5G, controlling the fuel, the water, the food, electricity, the education system, the medical system, economy, and bringing us all this media in the news and movies and terrorism, all this horrible stuff, portraying we humans as beasts. It's planned. Anyways, so the next page, it has happened in nation after nation throughout the centuries, and when it happened in Russia, the Jewish disease was given a new name, communism. People don't want to wake up to this stuff. So anyways, I was looking at a website, and I thought I would read from one page of this Chabad, apparently the leading religious Jewish organization today, apparently the organization that met with George Bush Sr. and had the Noahide laws signed in as laws of the United States in 1991. Chabad. So I was looking at this website, reading this page, and I thought it would give us a little glimpse into this religion of these people. And again, not all Jewish people. A lot of Jewish people are fighting this. Benjamin Friedman and his famous speech and books written by rabbis. So even in the Jewish camp, there are the people that apparently that are still with God. And then there are those that are with the demonic synagogue of Satan, Lucifer, these mystery religion cults. And a lot of Jewish intelligent people have written books and speeches. And if you go on Yahoo image site and look up Zionism, you'll see rabbis in their black outfits and their beards, and a bunch of them protesting on New York City streets and other places with big banners and signs saying Zionism is not Judaism. Not all Jews follow the Kabbalah, the mystery religion of Babylon, whose deity apparently is Moloch, Satan, Lucifer, and other names I've gone over in many videos. But take a look at this website page and please go to it and read some more. You won't believe what you're going to see and read. Unbelievable. Now you're going to have to be patient with me. This is some pretty bizarre information. But look at the link to this webpage, www.chabad.org/article-cdos/aid/2509238/jewish/knowinghow-to-not-know.com. So apparently Chabad.org are part of the Jewish religious elite who met with President George Bush Sr. in 1991 and had the Noahide laws, some kind of Jewish Kabbalah Talmud laws, passed in America as the law of the land. And then I found this page, Knowing How to Not Know, and it says Kabbalah Online, Holidays, Purim, and Laws and Custom. Please go read it, but take your time and think. So I'm going to read this page. At the Purim festival meal, so apparently they have a festival, Purim, we are able to draw the light of the divine spark that is within the kelipot, without illuminating the kelipot themselves. So you want to draw the light from the divine spark that is within the kelipot. So what would be the divine spark? At the Purim festival meal, one is supposed to drink wine until he does not know the difference between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordecai. The mystical explanation, as written by the holy Arizal of Sefed, is that it is necessary to say, bless Haman, to draw the light of this divine spark that is within the kelipot. The kelipot apparently is the shell, i.e. forces of evil. Like I told you, bear with me here. This is pretty bizarre. So they want to draw the light from the kelipot. And the kelipot is the shells, i.e. forces of evil. So they want to get the light from the divine spark of the forces of evil. That's what it says here. To illuminate it and to give it renewed life. The forces of evil. And one is required to say after this, after one is intoxicated, at the time of his conscience awareness is gone, so that one will not illuminate the kelipot themselves. So you want to get the light from the kelipot, but you don't want them to know you're taking the light. And apparently they're forces of evil. And it says here, and they don't write God, apparently they're opposed to that, but God forbid. And the proper way to do this is through drinking much wine and getting truly drunk. However, be careful to be able to recite at the after blessing for the bread and the afternoon and the evening prayers of the Mincha and the Marav with a proper mindset. So you got to get drunk and be careful and have a proper mindset. If one is under duress or unable to get drunk, one should still drink more than is one's habit. It is a commandment to make a big festival meal on Purim Day. Through eating, one draws the mentality of the Kakamon, the wisdom, and through drinking the mentality of the Bina, understanding. One should intend to make the mentality of the Bima supreme. Therefore, it is necessary to drink more than one eats. This is the reverse of the meal of Ahashverosh, where there is more eating than drinking. As it says, and the drinking was according to the law, without compulsion. Apparently that's Esther 1.8. So from Sephar Yemen HaPurim, the secret of the blessing Haman. The sustenance one draws to the evil forces should be only enough to ensure their existence and no more. We have to draw life force to the holiness concealed within the evil forces. Let me read that again. We have to draw life force to the holiness concealed within the evil forces. Am I reading this right? Does it say evil forces? I keep talking about the Kabbalah, synagogue of Satan, and that must be a very constricted life force. This being the deeper meaning behind the drunkenness of Purim. It is well known that in every Kelipot, I guess this place where the evil resides, there is a spark of holiness that sustains it. Should that spark disappear, the Kelipot would cease to exist. On Purim, when a very great line shines from above, it is desirable that the Kelipot also draw sustenance from that light. Still, we must take that the Kalpa receive only the barest amount of holiness as sustenance, lest it gain too much strength from this light. A person must therefore drink on Purim until he cannot tell the difference. Then, if in his drunken state he says, "Blessed is Haman," the Kelipot receives its sustenance. But since the person said this while drunk and without clear intent, the blessing given to Haman is greatly diminished. With only the barest of sustenance for the Kelipot, keep it alive and no more. So apparently you can go look at this website and look at these pages. There's a whole lot of other stuff you can click over here. The Zohar, the Holy Ari, the mystical classics, the Chassidic masters, the ascent lights, the mystic stories, laws and customs, the new moon. So my point is, if these people made the Noahide laws, the laws of the land, and the leading Jewish organization is Chabad.org, some kind of rabbi, and they were in cahoots with President George Bush Sr. to pass Noahide laws as the laws of the land of the United States. According to this and other research I've done, seems to me we people need to wake up. We're in trouble. The satanic forces, evil forces, apparently are real, and these people are working with the evil forces to control the world, and apparently maybe even take revenge on the world for the 2,000 years of being policed and banished and exiled because of some particular religious characteristics, rituals they've been doing. I've gone over that. Some of it is quite horrific. But go look at this page and let me know what you think, if this is just too bizarre to me. So bear with me. I will get back to the book. But these things need to be said, and we need to be aware of them, so that when I'm reading the book, you can make an educated decision on what you should think. Glasses were crooked. But anyways, Richie from Boston, kind of entertaining and sharing a lot of details about the threats we seem to be under from dumping chemicals in the sky and 5G and so much more. He talks about how the apparently Israel, the Chabad, the religious leaders, are trying to get Noahide laws enforced that they passed in secret in 1991. They can make a law, but you don't have to enforce it. Or you can wait until the opportune time to enforce it. And that's what they did. This is a big picture for these people to bring about a global world order. Most of we people are myopic. If it doesn't happen right away or tomorrow, we say, it's all crazy. But these people who want a global world order have a long-term plan. They've been busy at this for hundreds of years. If you want to know the truth, they've been busy at this since the beginning. And of course, for 2,000 years, as documented in many places and many books, I've gone over some of the material, the Jews were banished or exiled, even massacred, imprisoned, and policed, run out of different countries. Eventually, in the 1500s and 1600s, they were run out of Spain and Britain and France and Italy. But then 100 or 200 years later, the 1700s, 1800s, they managed to get back into those countries. In Britain, they had the king executed. In France, they had the king executed, and so much more. So this is where they are today, apparently, in powerful places, controlling the banking systems and governments and the military and the computer monitoring system, technologies, facial recognition, knowing what you purchase with your cards and your money, and tracking devices, smartphones, GPS, and so much more. They're in power today, and Richie says that he's having problems reporting this. They keep shutting him down. Take a look at this little clip. And when I show you these clips, it is my intention for you to go and to watch those clips in their entirety. Because I can only take a minute out of it or 2 minutes.
Blah, blah, blah. This, that, and the other thing. It's weird. When you put something out that touches on Israel or anything like that, you have nothing but issues, and I don't expect this one to go very well. But I'm doing it again. I'm over here at Breaking Israel News, and it says the Sanhedrin blesses Trump, calls on President to uphold 7 Noahide laws. They claim from the Torah that these are the laws derived from Noah, from the Great Flood.
So another clip I was watching when I do my research and I search on YouTube or the Yahoo and I put in keywords. Anybody can do this. I came across one video from this Aussie, I guess from Australia, who tells us some things we ought to know about the Noahide laws. So apparently the world is waking up, but of course a lot of we the people, the masses of people, are not awake. And we find all this stuff absolutely unbelievable. But here he is. Watch this clip.
Hello, Lord Stompy here. How are you people doing? Reporting for duty from Australia. Okay, I'm pretty annoyed. I'm stunned. I'm flabbergasted. I am pissed off. And any correct thinking patriots and conscientious Christians around the world, and especially in the United States, are not going to like this, because I definitely do not. There's no way I can break this to you except to say Congress in 1991 put through a bill basically selling the US out to Jewish Talmudic law. Now, this was overseen by George Bush Sr. It sounds fanciful, it sounds far-fetched, it sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory. But it is not. Here, indeed, is the law that was passed in 1991. You are being sent back to the Babylonian Talmudic law, the 7 Noahide laws. Now, the first time I heard about this, I thought it was slightly crazy conspiracy theory, but it is not. So let's read out this document that the Congress, in its mighty wisdom, passed as law. And I mean, this is highly illegal document to start with, because I distinctly remember, even as an Australian, I know that there's a clause in the US Constitution that says no laws shall be passed by US Congress pertaining to religion.
And it's taken me a while, but I've clearly deduced from my research that the Freemasons are a organization created by these evil forces to do their bidding and produce people that they can trust. That means they have to be untrustworthy, evil people. Can you imagine that? Having all these organizations to find evil people. And they blackmail them, they trick them, they deceive them too. And some of them wake up and they come out and try to tell the rest of us. Plenty of books on it. I've gone over books by these people. But apparently the Freemasons, Noahide laws. And again, when I show you these clips, write down the name of the video, and go watch it and find out for yourself. This is, in my opinion, this stuff's kind of important. Watch this clip.
Alright, hey everybody. I'm going to talk today about Freemasonry and the Noahide Code. Basically, I was reading this book here by Albert Mackey, The Symbolism of Freemasonry, written by a 33rd degree Freemason. So I'm going to go through this book, and then I'm going to look at what is a Noahide, and I'm going to trace it back to what that means for us today. So chapter 1 is the origin and progress of Freemasonry. All right, then he goes on to talk about the two doctrines of Freemasonry, which are the unity of God and the immortality of the soul. Chapter 2, the Noahide. These are the doctrines which still constitute the creed of Freemasonry, and hence one of the names bestowed upon the Freemasons from the earliest times was that of Noachidae, or Noachites. That is to say, the descendants of Noah and the transmitters of his religious dogmas. It doesn't say it came from Noah. It says the descendants of Noah. Let's see who those were. All right, so here's Noah's family tree, right? We got Noah up here on the upper left. Ham had a son, Cush. Cush had a son, Nimrod. Nimrod built the Tower of Babel. And they said to one another, "Go, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly." They had brick for stone and slime they had for mortar. Sounds like masonry, doesn't it? And his other son, Egypt. All right, this is Egypt. And another son, Canaan, the Canaanites. So the lineage of Ham were the enemies of God.
So all right, back to the book. So after watching those clips and seeing what you've seen so far, I'll go back and read the last sentence in this book. Eustace Mullins' New History of the Jews. Published in 1968. Like I said, this stuff's been going on quite a while. Some of his other books here mentioned on the cover insides of this book, the front page. Mullins on the Federal Reserve. We know they took over the USA money supply in 1913, 6 months prior to World War I. In my opinion, they couldn't have had World War I unless they did put in the puppet President Woodrow Wilson, deceived the people, and took control of our money supply. And for 50 or 60 years, they did not control it after being booted out years ago, because our elected leaders knew what was going on, were wise to what they were up to. And apparently they had a huge hand in bringing about the Civil War in the United States, and even Ulysses Grant banned the Jewish people from the Tennessee territories. And this is in the Encyclopedia Judaica that I've gone over on Zionism and anti-Semitism, and I made videos on the Encyclopedia Judaica and shown that material on the pages, read straight from them. Another one of his books is The Federal Reserve Conspiracy, The Difficult Individual Errs a Pound, Mullins' History of the Jews, My Life in Christ, and The Biological Jew. So I think he even wrote books after those books. This gives you, and the table of contents for this book, The Biological Jew, The Origin of the Jew, Jews in Ancient History, The Passion of Jesus Christ, Jews and Ritual Murder. I could be reading from that chapter, page 49. Jews and Ritual Murder. So apparently they do, these religions, they do, and it says there, Jews in Europe, Jews in communism, Jews in America, the Jew in our future, by a well-known, educated journalist, businessman. Okay, so it says in this book, continuing on, should the new leaders at any time undergo a change of heart, their hearts soon stop altogether. So like President John Kennedy, he came from these secret societies, the Kennedy family. Apparently his father or grandfather were into the drug trade. That's where they got their wealth. But just because you come from these families, like a lot of other whistleblowers, doesn't mean you can't wake up and see the truth. And apparently President John Kennedy was assassinated for it. So they have a change of heart. But in that case, it says here, their hearts soon stop altogether. So they will kill people, and they have, and they will continue to do so. This is going to be a battle to the end. For the Jews are always prepared against a possible defection. This seldom happens, for the Jews never allow anyone to rise to a position of leadership among the Gentiles who does not have a Panama. So apparently, if they don't have something on people, blackmail or whatever, they're not going to let anybody get in high office. Think about that, who's in the presidency today, who went through bankruptcy in his life and who was studying the Kabbalah. President Donald Trump. Go look it up. And apparently was knighted and belonged to these secret societies and has his head on a coin with King Cyrus, the last king who helped the Jews rebuild King Solomon's temple. It's all verifiable. Now, a Panama does not refer to a hat, but to a carnal. Although the Panama Canal is not generally thought of as a turning point in American history, in reality it is. For the Panama Canal marks the final success of the Jews in obtaining mastery over the political leaders of the United States. Through the medium of bribes, to the tune of $40 million, paid from the United States Treasury, of course, and passed out to politicians in Washington, the Jews had these men, and through them the American people, at their mercy. So apparently we know that there are these evil forces that control the stock market and everything else, the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, the education industry, the newspapers, the Hollywood, and so much more. We're in trouble. So according to this book, the Jews kept records of these bribes, and since that time, the politicians have been unable to refuse them nothing. Consequently, every prominent American politician has, for the past 50 years, is said to have his Panama. So they have things on these elites who control our world, who get into political office. And first of all, everybody knows it costs millions of dollars to run a campaign for a senator, House of Representative, presidency, millions and millions. Where do you suppose they get that money? Who's got that money to give? The people who control the Federal Reserve. So basically it comes from we taxpayers. We citizens are paying for our own destruction. That is to say, no American is allowed to rise to a position of political leadership unless he has some financial scandal, some Panama in his background, which the Jews can use to bring him to heel at any time. For this reason, most American politicians in the last 5 decades have been classic examples of the rags to riches theme. Far from illustrating the Horatio Alger legend of hard work and integrity, however, each of these careers of sudden wealth stems from the looting of the public till with the connivance of the Jews. And one character that's getting on my radar, there's actually a lot of these characters, all the ones in the news, but Marco Rubio, apparently of Florida, and the Venezuelan situation. So you can see what he's saying, that he's supporting the ouster of the current president of Venezuela. And apparently America has put a blockade on any money or supplies or activity going on in Venezuela, causing the people to suffer and starve, and they're blaming it on the government because they don't control the government. And there's a lot of oil and other resources in Venezuela, and they want to control it. And many other countries have been taken down so they could control the resources. Even over in Afghanistan and over in Asia, they wanted to control the opium, poppy fields, etc., etc. Even in America, they put the farmers out of business to take over all the farming in the country, and then they bring us the genetically modified foods, Monsantos, and stuff that hurts us, causes us to go to their hospitals and buy their pharmaceutical supplies, to keep the big financial engine running, to keep us people, we the people, scrambling just to stay healthy and alive and financially afloat. It caused the boat to keep on going up and down. They've been doing it for the past 100 years, pretty easily verifiable. Even Alan Greenspan, in one of his famous speeches or testimonies before Congress, you can go look this up, said there was some creative economic destruction going on. They wanted to slow down the economy in America. So basically, they didn't want we, the people, to have personal wealth and time on our hands so that we could read books like this and learn what was going on, the truth about 9/11 and so much more. So they have to keep everybody distracted and distressed. Back to the book. We have already pointed out that the host people, in some 5,000 years, has never been able to dislodge the Jewish parasites through the common biological reactions of panic, anger, and violence. So again, a lot of this is common knowledge. You can go on YouTube and put in there 90 countries that the Jews were banished from in the past 2,000 years. And everything from the Bolshevik Revolution after World War I, where the Bolshevik Jews were snuck into Russia to abduct the Tsar and his family and execute them, and then proceed for the next 10, 15, even 20 years between World War I and World War II, doing two things: purging Russia of the Christians and other good people, the Russians, and destroying the Christian churches. And also, because they controlled the money supply to countries all over the world, they caused the world's greatest depression all over the world. The Great Depression in America. A lot of Americans don't know that, but it was going on all over the world. So people were being killed by the millions in Russia while this was going on, the Great Depression. Some, I think an Israeli newspaper admitted 25 million in Russia after World War I. And then they talk a lot about the 6 million Jews being burned in gas chambers in World War II. Why doesn't anybody talk about the 100 million Russians and Christians and people killed in Russia for revenge after World War I? And Hitler, had nothing to do with World War I and the Great Depression. A lot of history has been hidden. Okay, because of their inability to dislodge the parasites in every case, the Gentile community has gone down a dark road to oblivion. The records are there for anyone to see. Despite the fabrication, falsification of history on an enormous scale, despite the burning of libraries for thousands of years, i.e. the Library of Alexandria, etc., the Jews have not been able to eradicate the records of their misdeeds. Most of the records that have survived are now classified as rare books. And I have some of those books. I've made videos on them. I've got one of those books coming in the mail. The Encyclopedia Judaica reveals a ton of material. I made a lot of videos on the 1973 edition of the Encyclopedia Judaica, published in Israel in English. Go on a used book site on the internet and see if you can pick some up, or go watch my videos. Unbelievable information. So all these things I'm saying are true. Is the truth anti-Semitic? But you can't be anti-Semitic because all the Arabs are Semitic. And I've been screaming as loud as I can that I think it's just insane to be destroying all those countries and moving all those people into Europe and Brazil and America and Canada and depopulate it so these people can be in charge of the world with Greater Israel. And they're trying to get the United States legislator and President Donald Trump to enforce the Noahide laws. Their religion, the mystery religion of Babylon. Apparently the evil forces, according to the Bible, and so much more. And according to even them, that Chabad.org, knowing when to not know. You got to get drunk so you can't even speak right, so you can kind of steal something from these evil demons and forces. Crazy? Do people really want to prefer that religion to Christianity? Or that religion to the Islamic people's religion? Or that religion to the Asian people, the Buddhist religion, the Hindu religion, or any religion, or the shamans and the natives all over the world? Do people really want this religion that's going to be enforced on the world? I would think not, if people would just take some time and think and look into this stuff. Don't believe a thing I say. Take some notes and go look into it yourself. If you do, you will be outraged. You will be speaking up. Then they will demonize you. Your family will think you're crazy. But we see all these things going on. We see the homelessness on the streets. The kids and young people and even old people looking like freaks these days. Gay pride parade. One guy's carrying a banner that says, "I bet hell is fabulous." Who can believe that hell would be fabulous? On having big ceremonies in a street in Detroit with a statue of the devil. With the horns. Sometimes I just wonder if I'm making these videos and they're getting out there to anybody. But I do know I get comments from some people. I even noticed on David Icke, he released a video a day or so ago. He only had 742 views. So I guess the suppression effort is working. But of course they have computer algorithms, apps, software. They can distract millions, and apparently they are, even billions of people, so they don't get this information. The only way they're going to get it is if people take this video and download it and put it on CDs, go buy 100 CDs, and walk around the city streets and the parks, or mail them to people randomly, or give them to people. It's a pretty cheap way to do it. But people need to know this stuff. Humanity depends on people waking up. So most of the records that have survived are now classified as rare books, and they are hidden away from the public in special archives. These records are made available only to Jewish-approved scholars who can be depended on not to reveal what they find out. Even so, we know the history of the Jews. And then, of course, I made that book review on Series 124, Freemasonry and Satanism, that Germany must perish. They were calling for the elimination of every Jewish citizen before World War II. With any German DNA, they had to be wiped from the face of the earth. Why? Before World War II. It's because the German people were alert and awake and knew what was going on. So of course they had to be destroyed. Then the other book review, if I can find my book here to give you the number. Series 67, The Jewish Utopia. Apparently Robert Williams, who wrote The Ultimate World Order. Go watch my 3 or 4 videos on the Jewish Utopia. Robert Williams was a retired intelligence officer of the United States. And after he retired, he wrote an intelligence newsletter and had subscribers, like a little magazine. And somehow, in his research, he discovered a book in a Texas library called The Jewish Utopia, a book written by Professor Higger, a rabbi, about the Jewish plans to take over the world and what they were going to do to the rest of us. Crazily enough, it kind of matches the details in the Protocols of Zion, Series 8 in my series, Freemasonry and Satanism. So there's just 3 series, Series 8, Series 124, and Series 67, more matching materials, and this is Series 253, Part 2, and I'm closing in on 700 videos on YouTube, encompassing 8 or 9, maybe 1,000 hours. I release a video every day at 10 o'clock and 8 p.m., re-releasing my videos and integrating the new ones into that. Because a lot of people don't have the information. If I can just keep pumping it out there and pumping it out there and pumping it out there, maybe some of it will get to people. And there's no money in this for me. But I suppose, not that I'm comparing myself to Jesus, but I suppose Jesus wasn't doing it for the money. And Jewish Benjamin Friedman, the Jewish man Benjamin Friedman, who made his famous speech in the Astoria Hotel. I think it was that. Look up Benjamin Friedman's famous speech. He wasn't doing it for money. And when President Kennedy, in his famous speech, said secret societies are repugnant to the American way of life and I intend to expose it, he wasn't doing it for money. A lot of people, it was Richie from Boston making a fortune, or David Icke making a fortune, or any of these people making a fortune. I think not. They're doing it because they can see what's wrong. They can see the danger. So some people are just more inclined to step up and put up what they have to try to get the word out. And regrettably, we don't have enough people doing that. So when I make videos, you can just take notes and go do your research and make your own videos. Please do it. Get your friends involved, family involved. I'm going on my 15th year. If people could wake up everywhere, I could go back to a normal life, go buy another boat and be out there on some island fishing or something. But it is what it is. We know that Babylon was a great civilization, according to this book, page 15, that Babylon became the host to a sizable Jewish community. So this has been going on for 5,000 years. Eustace Mullins writing this material. Everybody should go get this book. It should be mandatory reading in schools, grade schools, high school, colleges. Because you talk about Babylon, talk about Egypt, talk about the French Revolution, talk about the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and the 90 different countries that the Jews were banished from, exiled from, massacred, tortured, imprisoned, and policed, pogroms and all that. This problem has been going on a long time, and it appears it's going to be coming to a head, because they apparently have the financial and control of the politicians through blackmail and bribery with money and perversion with all that weird sexual stuff in the news all the time. So we know that Babylon was a great civilization, according to Eustace Mullins, that Babylon became host to a sizable Jewish community, and that Babylon was destroyed. So apparently, when a country gets a sizable Jewish community, that country gets destroyed. Germany was destroyed, and it had a sizable Jewish community, and it was destroyed from within, the Balfour Agreement during World War I. Germany was winning World War I. But the elites had a plan. They knew that if they could promise Britain that it could win the war, that Britain would do whatever they wanted, and they wanted the Palestinians' land to create the state of Israel to bring us to where we are today so that President George Bush could assist them in passing the Noahide laws. And even now they're encouraging and suggesting that President Putin of Russia and President Donald Trump and all the world's leaders help them rebuild King Solomon's temple. All this matching some kind of biblical prophecy too, FYI. We know that Egypt was a great civilization, that Egypt became host to a sizable Jewish community, and that Egypt was destroyed. Just like I said at the beginning of this video. You know, here you have your house, you're the host, and you have some people come over, Thanksgiving dinner, a party, whatever. And then people start acting crazy, or one person and threatening people. You as the host will come in and get that person thrown out and stop all that unruly behavior. Well, apparently, when the Babylonian Empire brought in the Jews, Babylon was destroyed. When Egypt allowed the Jews into their community and they wound up taking control, Egypt was destroyed. We know that Rome had a great civilization and that Rome became host to a sizable Jewish community and that Rome was destroyed. We know that England had a great empire and that England became host to a sizable Jewish community, and the British Empire vanished in a few decades. Whether or not this is a simple coincidence, that's what he says here, which reappears throughout history of mankind, we should remember that the United States now has a sizable Jewish community. 1968, Eustace Mullins, a Washington, D.C. journalist and businessman and a good reputation, who checked into the Jewish control of the Federal Reserve and the medical industry and all of those things. Well-known author, many books. He says these words. I'm reading these words. So as a citizen, a world citizen, in my opinion, who cares about people in any country of the world, me. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, you care about people. You don't hate people just because they're living in Peru or Brazil or Mexico or Canada or Germany or Holland or India or China, Vietnam, Japan. We people, we citizens, we Gentiles that are non-Jews all over the world. I don't care if you're in Japan or you're in Hawaii. If you're not a Jew, you're a Gentile. All we Gentiles, they don't even run around hating Jews. We keep bringing them into our worlds and they keep destroying our worlds, according to what Eustace Mullins is saying here. And a lot of Jewish people throughout history have tried to warn the rest of us. So there is a faction of the Jews that are into the synagogue of Satan mystery religious cult. They're worshiping demons and beings, and apparently even as that knowing when not to know Chabad.org page I showed, which has a whole lot more insane material on other pages. I was looking at them. It was just too much there. It was too unbelievable. But I guess it doesn't matter how unbelievable it'll get. If people are being slaughtered in the streets, I suppose, a lot of people would just go hide and close their blinds and close their windows and doors and believe it won't happen to them. So it seems. Why is it that the Jews destroy a Gentile nation once they gain control of it? This too is a natural process. One cannot expect that a parasite can successfully administer the affairs of the host, even if it wishes to do so. So I do know that these parasites, if you want to call them Illuminati, Zionists, secret societies, high-level Freemasons, etc., they're controlling our system. And they're allowing our infrastructure, our highways, our sewer systems, water systems. We all know this. They're allowing those systems to decay. Bridges are collapsing. Apparently they're controlling the weather and they're destroying our environment. And they're using all this money they're stealing out of the Federal Reserve by the trillions to be able to control people all over the world that they're paying off with money and putting in positions of power while they're installing all kinds of advanced technologies to police us and even probably microwave us to death. So many tools at their disposal. And apparently, they've been accused of these things for 5,000 years. And not all Jewish people. And some of the people that are working with them, whether through bribery or blackmail or whatever, feeding their fetishes and their decadent, perverted desires, they're working with them. So all these people are into some kind of demonic, evil, mystery religion. You either believe that, or you're believing that it's some galactic federation up there in gigantic ships trying to destroy the reptilians on the planet who are among us causing all of this. My opinion is, whoever's doing it, we the people need to wake up and stop whoever's doing it. We have this short time on planet Earth, our lives. We can choose to do nothing. We can choose to do something. It's like going to college and graduating. Let's say you get a law degree or a medical degree or an engineering degree. Then you get out of college and you go, I think I'll just go be a beach bum or hang around the park and do nothing. Is that logical? So when you wake up and you see that your world is being endangered and a clear and present danger exists, we're being threatened. Humanity. You would think people that would get angry about that and say no. There are 6 billion of us and 347 of them. I'm paraphrasing, it's probably more than 347. But the percentage, the ratio is that great of the actual leaders behind this insanity. The people at the very top. If there's 347, maybe I would be surprised. Controlling 1 million, 2 million, who are controlling 6 billion. As David Icke would call it, the totalitarian tiptoe. They're tiptoeing all around us, stepping on us and controlling things and distracting us and destroying everything, and nobody wants to wake up and see who's doing it. They control our militaries, our intelligence agencies, the medical establishment, education establishment, the economic situation. The power, the electricity, the Rothschilds own a lot of the electricity generating stations all over the country. The water systems, the sewer systems, the food supply systems, the farming. The stuff they're dumping in the sky is killing the bugs, the bees, the birds, the trees, the grass, harming the people, killing the people. The Jew does not wish to do so because his first concern is to his security. So the Jews who control our world, and not all Jews, and apparently it's these people into this satanic mystery religion and mystery organizations, high-level Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Bilderberger groups, Bohemian Groves, where they even throw children in a fire, sacrificing them. Club of Rome, and Carnegie, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, all these names, all these people, they don't want to do their responsibilities if they control the planet by making the planet better for the rest of us. They have their own agenda. So the Jew must remain attached to the host. So they do need us to survive. We produce everything. They control us, and they want everything to be, they call it austerity. They want everything to be more efficient, and we, the people, to live in tiny houses. They even published that on TV. People living in these little shoe boxes and walking around the tulips and garden outside, saying how wonderful it is to be in a tiny house on a little patch of land that they rent. And people buy into this program, when the world could be one wondrous place with the trillions and trillions they've taken out of the system for all this wars and destruction. Can you imagine the planet we would have if these people, and apparently they are intelligent, if they were just working for the world and the betterment of the world, where could we be? Babylon falling, Egypt falling, Rome falling, Britain falling, France falling. Is America next? Has America already fallen? And they got this turmoil going on in Australia. You watch that video with the Aussie telling us about the Noahide laws. Australia seems to be under dire straits by the government. Apparently, the European Union is in dire straits by these unelected officials that are controlling everything. Does anybody really believe that this is going nowhere? That these people are not going to fulfill their plan and virtually give us a world like the Hunger Games movie? Does anybody really believe it? Does anybody really believe that biblical prophecy is not being fulfilled? With that said, I'll take a break and surprise you with a little clip, another video.
When did free speech become hate speech in America? When did it become illegal to express your views?
Yes.
And who's killing it?
On both sides. The show we did about the Trump hat, it wasn't about the Trump hat. It was about the freedom to wear the Trump hat.
Right.
That's what we're trying to get across. It doesn't matter the blue or the red. You have the right to wear what you want.
Yeah, and in all places. I spend a lot. I live in Martin County, and you talk about talking about what's your everyday carry, churches, strong conservative. Where a liberal wouldn't be upset about talking about what kind of ammo you're running, and then this young lady, not young, 64, reacts to a 14-year-old. I mean. And she went off on him. You heard what she said.
Yeah, she has no right to tell somebody they can't wear a hat that has the president's name.
Sure. Yeah.
Think about that. The president of the United States' name is on the hat, and the boy gets in trouble. Says who? Says somebody who doesn't like the president. Well, I didn't like Barack Obama for 8 years, but I didn't go around physically assaulting Obama supporters.
Yeah, and I made that example in that live shot. What if this would have been 4 years ago and the President Obama would have been in office? A white bus's aide would have slapped the hat off an African-American boy. There would have been so many network people flying into the Stewart Airport where I went to the air show and saw that Harrier jump jet and thousands of people there. You would have had hundreds of media members from around the country.
There'd be massive lawsuit, settlement, everything, and that bus aide would still be in prison.
Right.
Well, let me ask you gentlemen this question here. Could there have been something offensive on the hat? What slur could there have been on the hat? What if there was a racial slur on the hat? Would that have been justified to take the hat from the young man?
Yeah, I don't think that's appropriate. Racial slurs.
I don't think so either.
But I think we've known that in our society. We understand that.
Or if it said kill a group of people, that of course would that be provocative enough? Because what they're doing is they're equating those types of sayings, that type of speech. That's over the line. That's way over the line. But they're equating a name. President Trump, the president of our United States, with a threat.
Or the MAGA hat saying "Make America Great Again." We were going to run a clip, but we didn't. We ran out of time. A girl took this guy's hat, MAGA hat, off at a university, and she said this represents genocide. Genocide. The hat.
There's no shortage of material out there that all that I'm saying is true. Here's another clip.
Was that they could stop the Democrats from voting for their own anti-war bill by forcing them first to vote in agreement that it is anti-Semitic to oppose Israel through boycotts. But the Democrats called his bluff. They voted on the motion, and the House voted 424-0 in support of Kustof's motion. Fortunately, Kustof's un-American scheme didn't work, so the House then went on to vote for the full bill. Basically, the vote turned out along party lines. You had 230 Democrats joined by 18 Republicans who voted to end the unconstitutional warfare in Yemen, while 177 Republicans and 0 Democrats voted to keep this war going. And the irony of the whole thing, of course, is that the way this bill was twisted around, you ended up with pro-boycott Democrats voting in favor of anti-boycott language, while anti-boycott Republicans ended up voting against their own anti-boycott amendment. It was crazy. So after the vote, the House Foreign Relations Committee, which is now under the control of the Democrats, the chairman, Chairman Engel, is actually, I think he's a dual Israeli citizen. He's definitely Jewish, but I think he's also an Israeli citizen. They issued a tweet mocking House Republicans for voting against their own anti-Semitism legislation. So clearly, this was meant to be a kick in the teeth of Kustov and others who tried to paint their political opponents as a bunch of anti-Semites because of their criticism of Israel.
Crazy? You think? Back to the book. His own health, the Jewish health, depends entirely on the Gentile host. For this reason, the Jew develops a terrible, irrational hatred of the host. The Jewish holy book, the Talmud, is filled with wild implications against the Gentiles and against the Christ who offered to lead them to salvation and to save them from the Jew. So vile are these expressions that when the Gentile community learns of them, they rise up against the Jews. And as we all know now, there's a lot of social conditioning going on, persuading people to be in favor of same-sex marriage, even transgenderism, and all these other issues, using mind control, social conditioning, propaganda, deception. So many people are actually believing there is no such thing as God. We don't have souls, that they created Christianity to control we the people. People are believing this stuff. These people are busy and at work, and they're intelligent, and they'll use all of this garbage to deceive everybody. They're evil. They've been evil for 5,000 years. And I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about these people that are into the synagogue of Satan. Like the Bible says in Revelation 2.9 and 3.9, those who call themselves Jews but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. Is the Bible correct? Jesus overturning the money changers' tables. Ye are of your father, the serpent, Satan. So this other world behind the veil, another dimension, another reality, it does exist. We're spiritual beings. We're going to leave Earth sooner or later. And oh my, we will each have to answer. Did we choose the dark side? Or did we not believe their deception and insanity? It's just logic, and we stick with the God's commandments. Don't kill and don't steal. Or should we believe we should steal and we should kill? Seems pretty simple to me. I'm opposed to this. I embrace this. I think the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery means do adulterated things. Perversion, sex with children, and all that other stuff. Same sex, homosexuality. It says don't do it. Don't bear false witness. Don't covet what other people have. Don't be envious and jealous because other people might have more than you. So that's the 10 Commandments. The second 5. And also includes the first one is there's only one God. And don't blasphemize God. Honor thy mother and father. Take off on Sunday and go enjoy your life. That wasn't made for God. That was made for you and me. Honor the Sabbath. Go enjoy. Pray. Go to take your kids to the park. Take a break. And if you look at Aleister Crowley, the evilest man alive he was known as, in his book of the law, his commandments are do what thou wilt. Anything. Murder, pedophilia, child sacrifice. If you enjoy it, why should anybody deny you? So we can choose this or we can choose this. It just seems logic to me, but apparently, as insane as it is, everybody knows that 911 was an inside job. And so many people have made videos, and scientists and the Architects of America, Engineers Association of the World, Deborah Travers, Judy Wood, in her famous book, and so many people. All the evidence is plain to see that they used that to be able to do what they did in the Middle East and destroy all of those people. And they got away with it because a lot of people were ignorant and blind and didn't want to see the truth. And again, when we leave the planet, we have to answer for that. I believe we're from this other dimension in the spiritual realm, which is the real realm, the physical realm, the spiritual essence. This made up, created realm, this flat earth or round sphere, whatever you want to call it, that runs from the North Pole to the South Pole, and where the elites have exploded over 4,000 nuclear weapons and are destroying the oceans and the waterways and the food supplies. It's just a small smidgen of the real reality. When we leave planet Earth, we're going back to the real reality. Now, do they have a dimension that's part of Hades and hell for the bad people? It seems like they do. It's mentioned often enough. It's called the underworld or anything. And do they have a more heavenly realm? It's mentioned plenty of times in the Bible, and apparently they do. It only makes sense that they do. Even in the spiritual realm, there are probably good entities and bad entities. Even with the aliens, they tell us there are these good aliens and bad aliens. So if we're visitors on Earth, you, me, everybody we know, and the real reward or punishment is after we leave this world, and I guess to get the reward is basically just to wake up and speak up. Not much more you can do, I can do. We can't, each of us, go out there and fight the military and all these forces. But we can certainly go to our grave with our honor in our hand, our faith, and not be reduced to despicable people. And if they turn off the electricity tomorrow, they collapse the economy, the stock market crashes, no more semi-tractors bringing food to the stores, will people act like crazed animals and do what we see on some of these nightly news programs? We don't have to submit to that kind of behavior. And no matter what the cause of it, if we do it, it's not going to bode well for us when we leave. I always like to make that analogy. Let's say the system collapses. They had World War III. You got some guy up on some hill, hunkered into his house with some weapons and some food and some water. And here comes a husband and a wife and 2 little children in hand, walking up, tattered clothes, hungry and starving. And that guy with the house full of the food and the water and the weapons pokes his gun out the window and says, "Go away or I'll shoot you." And they said, "We can't go anywhere. We need to eat. The children are starving." So they advance. The guy pulls the trigger and kills them all. And a few days later, a larger horde of people attack his house and kill him. And he winds up in the spiritual world. And he's at the pearly gates. Use that as an analogy. You know, what is St. Peter going to say? Why did you kill those poor people who needed some food and water? So you could live 2 more days and be here and wind up getting the elevator to go down into the underworld? You could have embraced them. Maybe they would have come inside with your weapons, and when the horde came, you guys could have defended yourselves. But you killed them. I'm saying, it's not so much what happens to us, it's how we react to what happens to us. We're really spiritual beings. This is just a human experience. It's better to live this life with honor and not get out into the dirt with these people, these evil people. Politicians who accept the briberies or get caught having sex with children. It's all in the news. I think, how insane are these people to even do that? Child trafficking, human slavery, and even their sacrifice rituals, these cults and religions they have, Bohemian Grove, people testifying who escape from the Illuminati, the rituals they have where they kill people. So apparently, I guess the bottom line is people need to really believe and understand that the demonic world does exist. And we're here on earth. Maybe it's a test. Maybe it's a school. But whatever, we will graduate. Some people get out of school and they get their diploma and they have a great career. Some people graduate from college and wind up being the world's most evilest criminals and politicians. Join the secret society, the Freemasons, blindfolded, walked around, swear on a Bible that they'll be killed and their throats will be cut, and their stomachs will be cut open if they divulge the secrets. They take these oaths. How insane is that? All right, back to the book. His own health depends entirely on the Gentile host. For this reason, the Jew develops a terrible, irrational hatred of the host. The Jewish holy book, the Talmud, is filled with wild implications against the Gentiles and against the Christ who offered to lead them to salvation and to save them from the Jew. So vile are these expressions that when the Gentile community learns of them, they rise up against the Jews. These expressions of hatred, however, are biologically manifestations rather than genuine hatred. The Jew hates the Gentile because the host of all that the parasite can never be, self-sustainable, able to defend itself against a physical enemy through strength rather than through cunning, and able to accept salvation of the soul. So I underlined this sentence, just letting you know when I read it. The Jew can be none of these things. Therefore, every Jewish gathering expresses contempt for the Gentile cattle they call the goyim. They call us goy and goyim cattle. And I will tell you, in the town I live, I've got some Jewish friends who are well-known, popular local musicians, and other people I know who are Jewish. They don't know this stuff. They don't hate the rest of us. But I also know throughout history, when groups of Jewish people and communities wanted to assimilate and get along and just be happy, that the evil Jews would create anti-Semitism and destruction, forcing them back into the herd. They need all those people, so they have to have anti-Semitism. The Jew regards the Gentile people as cattle in the field to be slaughtered for a harvest. And if you go watch some of these videos about rebuilding King Solomon's temple, you'll hear them say that the Gentiles will learn how to be slaves or die. They say it right on camera. I've gone over the books and showed some clips. They're not shy. They're that confident right now that they've got complete control. But of course they don't have complete control. They may wind up destroying the whole planet. But remember, we're only here for a visit. 50 years, 60 years. Some people only live to be 20 years in these wars they created. We wind up back where we came from. The Jews regard the Gentile people as cattle in the field to be slaughtered for the harvest. And they got the Bohemian Grove with all our politicians photographed there, throwing a baby into the fire they call the cremation of care. They have all these rituals during Emmys and Grammys and Super Bowl halftime shows, tunnel openings, Eurovision, American Idol program, and so many more. Even on cartoons with The Simpsons and TV programming. All this viciousness and rituals that are evil, with the horns and the beast dropping from the sky with that tunnel opening in Switzerland. And CERN, the collider with the Shiva statue of the goddess of destruction out front, and the 666 in its logo. So my point is, there's plenty of evidence for anybody who wants to just look up, wake up, and see it. Take a few minutes out of the day and say, hey, we need to talk to people, get together in our communities. And I know a lot of the churches have been taken over and they're deceiving the people. I know that. You know that. But they've spent the last 100 years, even in the 1920s, the congressional hearings on the Jewish problems and on communism. They discussed all this stuff. The insiders who testified said they were going to take over all of our institutions, the education institution, the economy. And if they are beast in the field, that would be we the people. What is the Jew but a manure-eating fly which perches on the backs of the cattle? Eustace Mullins wrote this. I'm doing a book review. And I say not all Jews are involved in this, and a lot of people who are involved in the evil are not even Jews. They've gone with the dark side, whether they were bribed or blackmailed or whatever. This too the Jew knows, if he has contempt and hatred for the Gentile cattle, he has even greater contempt and hatred for his own kind. No Gentile can understand what rudeness is until he hears Jews addressing one another. When a rabbi was shot down recently while holding services in a Detroit temple, it was no anti-Semitic Gentile who did the deed, but another Jew unable to stand the sight of his own kind. The Jew then regards his Gentile host, that would be we the people, whichever country you're in, with terrible mixed feelings of hatred, envy, and contempt. So think about this with the Iraq war after 9/11, not the first Iraq war. And it was all after, they were after the land and the resources and the oil. Let's not deceive ourselves. But think about shock and awe. All those planes with all those missiles and rockets and weapons. A flaming inferno engulfing, burning all those troops on the Iraq border, not invading another country. Just burned them all alive. And so much more. All the Middle East. Go look up on Yahoo image site and just put in Middle East bomb buildings. And you will see that they have bombed almost every town and city and water plant and sewer plant and commercial building. They're not routing out any terrorists. They're destroying everything. And what concerns me the most is people won't wake up and realize that this too could happen here pretty soon. And they even give us all these warnings and signs that they're preparing for this to happen. And in my opinion, it doesn't have to happen. I go outside and I see the intense dumping of chemicals in the sky. I did mention something yesterday when I made a video, or the day before, that I would show a new toy I purchased, a meter. So I guess now is as good a time as any to show something that I found that I think a lot of people should go invest in. So I ordered this in the mail. I don't know if you can see the screen. And you can see that it is an electrosmog meter. And I'm going to move my mouse. See my mouse moving? So I realized that I have some radiation just coming from my mouse. Now I do have the wireless disconnected in my house, or the signal here would be much higher. So I'm directly hooked up to the internet via a cable. And this device, if you go by a microwave transmitter tower or into somebody else's house, or even over to the place where they have wireless, you'll see all the electromagnetic energy. But what surprised me is when I got rid of the mouse. Remember, I have my keyboard hooked up direct also. I used to have a wireless keyboard and wireless internet connection, and this meter would be way off the chart. But anyways, when I disconnected my wireless mouse, which I will do right now, and use a mouse with a cable on it. See the cable on the mouse? See the difference right here, right now. I'm unplugging the mouse, the wireless mouse, and plugging in the corded mouse. And I'll move the mouse around. There's a whole lot less energy. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't turn off the... I didn't turn this off. I got to turn it off. Okay. Bear with me. So just by getting rid of a wireless mouse, look at how I cleaned up my... and I can move the mouse around now, and very little energy. Now there is some other pulses coming from outside the area, because remember, you know, you have neighbors that have wireless, but so I cleaned up my environment that this thing can record by getting rid of the wireless internet in my house and the wireless keyboard and mouse by getting my old corded one and old corded keyboard. And I gave myself a fairly clean environment. Again, though, there are some pulses every 5 seconds outside of the area. But it's still in the green here. But it could definitely be in the yellow and the red in your house. If you have wireless internet and 3 or 4 people using different computers and devices, and wireless mouse and wireless keyboard, and if you're living in a apartment building where everybody else has wireless, or they just installed another 5G transmitter right outside your window, which they're doing everywhere. If you get a meter like this, you can see the energy. This reflection is annoying, I apologize. So it's a really low level, but if you were living in an apartment building or going down to a local coffee shop with the wireless and all those computers, the amount of energy would be off the chart. And remember, those electromagnetic radiations affect the blood cells in your body and every other particle in your body, and especially the heavy metals in your body from all the dumping of aluminum, barium, strontium with the chemtrailing and sky spraying. So this little simple meter, the Coronet Microsystems Inc., was $199 plus probably $10, $12 shipping. But when I go out to eat at a restaurant or any place, I could probably even charge as a service to go around to people's houses and help them to clean up their environment. But you too can get rid of your wireless mouse and your wireless keyboard and your wireless internet in your home. Plug your computer into an Ethernet cable like you used to. And your mouse, go get your old one with a UBS cable connection and your keyboard. And you can noticeably clean up your office environment. And if you're like me, spending a lot of time in front of the computer, obviously, it will allow you better health and sleeping better and not being fatigued so much. So just one of the many things that I look into. So back to my research and my book review. So as you can see, electromagnetic radiations can be detected. And if you go look up Dr. Cruz or Dr. Mercola or many other people, Deborah Chaveras, Richie from Boston, so many, many, many more, Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org, that the electromagnetic energy and the installation of the 5G transmission system, Beast computer monitoring system, also weaponized, is monitoring us and apparently can attack and kill us. It would behoove people to try to get a meter or a detector so you can see things you can't see. And if you do wind up feeling dizzy or dazed or under attack, you can turn the meter on and find out. So I got a New Zealand man here, a video clip I made, who says you can't escape being monitored. Watch this clip.
Has been well, frankly, I think everybody is monitored on social media. I mean, if you hit the radar, I don't think you can go under the radar and be that way inclined. There's computer algorithms that pick up on words. It's just so systematic, and people think they're erasing their history of comments. It's arguable if they really are, but I suspect that could be a main agenda. I mean, if we had a story of some Muslims being terrible and hateful, you could kind of understand it's to perpetuate the Islamophobia. But this is the reverse. This is white people attacking innocent Muslims. And so my role is to find the story behind the story. If we just want the story, it's there on MSM, mainstream news. But you would expect some higher powers to be involved in such an orchestration.
Okay, so the evil forces are in control. Who are they? Let me read a little bit more from the book. The Jew then regards his Gentile host with terrible mixed feelings of hatred, evil, envy, and contempt. Excuse me. That was hatred, envy, and contempt. He feels this way, and yet he knows that his own well-being depends on the host. This sets up a strange dichotomy in the Jewish mind, which often results in a violent schizophrenia. Eustace Mullins, Washington, D.C. journalist, educated man, teacher, businessman. So these people who are into this evil religion that is a split personality and hopeless insanity, these are the people who are in charge. This is why they're not paying attention to taking care of the highways and the bridges and the infrastructure and sewer plants and electricity facilities and power lines. They want everything to be deteriorated and faulty. And then, of course, like global warming or climate change, they'll blame it on we the people. And they need to take more money, even though they're already taking trillions out of our treasury to take over the world. That's me saying this. On the one hand, the Jew wants to destroy the hateful Gentile body on which he depends. And on the other hand, he knows that it is suicide for him to do so. So whoever these entities are that they worship, and whoever these schizophrenic, pathological, psychologically ill people are, they need to keep a remnant of humanity alive to feed off of us. So apparently they plan on having a population reduction, a big event, and then having something like the Hunger Games movie scenario where they have groups of people all over the world who have to compete with each other to be able to eat, while the elites live like, if you watch the movie Hunger Games or many of these other crazy movies, Soylent Green and all that, Mad Max and all that. These people produce this stuff. And what does Esther Hicks say? Channeling Abraham. She preaches, you bring about what you think about. You bring about what you think about. And what are we all thinking about? Terrorism, economic destruction, global warming, climate change, forest fires, sustainability. You think about what you bring about. So somebody's bringing consciousness, this message, so people will accept all of this. And these people are not nice people. They brought us 9/11, World War I, World War II, and millions and untold millions of people tortured and killed and so much more, fleeced and robbed of all of their dignity and their wealth, their families, their future. But remember, we're spiritual beings. Only we can give away our souls. So on the other hand, he knows that it is suicide for him to do so. So they can't destroy all of us. Because of this schizophrenia in the Jew, who has become master of the Gentile destiny, he leads the Gentile community into the wild ventures. Eustace Mullins, 1968. This is March 21st, 2019. And a lot of videos on YouTube and websites and books I've gone over are trying to warn and alert people all over the country. I've showed you the clips. They're not crazy. The ones that are crazy are the ones who just want to ignore the situation, look up and see the dumping of chemicals, and just pretends it doesn't exist, as Dane Wigington keeps saying. Often he brings great prosperity, but only for a short time. Through reckless waste, such as willful destruction of natural resources, societal ventures into foreign wars, and debauchery the young people so that they are unable to raise healthy families. So I think I'll play another surprise clip. Oh my, this book is crazy.
Who will take a stand in the desperate attempt to protect our children and any future they may yet have? Who? It's up to us. It's up to all of us. Hold community leaders to account. Hold environmental organizations to account, spiritual organizations to account, elected officials to account, governmental agencies to account. It's up to us. Moving on. Let's not forget the runaway insanity of radio frequency microwave transmissions along the same subject. With that in mind, carefully consider this new headline from CBS News, Sacramento, and other sources. Quote, parents blame elementary school's cell tower after fourth student diagnosed with cancer. From that report, the school district has had several tests done saying the tower is safe and meets federal regulations. What does that mean? It means nothing. Federal agencies who are tasked with hiding dangers. I just went over that. But some families weren't convinced and hired an expert who stated the following conclusion on the record from a qualified expert. Listen closely. He said this, quote, I wouldn't send my kids there at all. It's absolutely dangerous, said Eric Windheim, an electromagnetic radiation specialist. Quote, he said this, children are still developing and their cells are still being divided. It's the worst possible time in their life to be exposed to this kind of danger.
So many people trying to warn us, risking their lives, certainly their economic health. I'm sure it's costing a lot of people a lot of money. But they use anti-Semitism as a tool for the Zionists. They want people to be called haters. I don't hate anybody. I pray for all these evil people that they wake up and stop it. And I am aware that we're spiritual beings, and apparently we have to endure this situation. But we don't have to be ignorant and stupid. Here's another clip.
Pro-Israel Republicans specifically tried to stop this bill that the Democrats brought forward to try and get us out of the war in Yemen. The way that these pro-Israel Republicans tried to stop it was by using a very well-known dirty trick. The most powerful weapon that the political Zionists have is the label of anti-Semitism. If they cannot win an argument that is based on facts and intelligence, which they can rarely do, it's okay. Not a problem, because they carry tactical nukes around with them in their pockets that they can use to obliterate their opponents. Calling someone an anti-Semite seems to have some kind of magical power in that it turns off the logic center in most people's brains. It doesn't matter if the person arguing against some Israeli policy or against some war, it doesn't matter that they haven't demonstrated any hatred toward Jewish people in any way. Evidence of real Semitism isn't needed. The mere accusation of anti-Semitism is explosive political dynamite. Just the accusation itself works. That's because people fear being labeled as anti-Semitic. They fear having that label stuck to them because it's like blood in the water. It invites the social media sharks to attack you all at once, to savage you. Well, to try to stop this Democrat bill against the Yemen war from passing, a Jewish congressman from Tennessee, Representative David Kustoff, this is a man with a history of supporting initiatives against Iran on behalf of Israel. He used this anti-Semitism tactic. He knew that a whole bunch of Democrats are supporters of the boycott movement against Israel. So, Kustoff tacked on a motion to this bill that not only said that it is anti-Semitic to boycott Israel, but also that supporting boycotts of Israeli products jeopardizes American security. Here's what he said as he proposed the amendment on the House floor. He said, quote, "It is in the national security interest of the United States to combat anti-Semitism around the world."
So what do you think? Are we in trouble? Back to the book. And always the Jews are dickering abroad with the enemies of the Gentile host, never deviating from their pattern of subversion and betrayal. So it's not probably, the Jewish people in your community or your friends, but these people in these secret societies and banksters and organizations, they are plotting against the rest of us. When King Cyrus and his armies arrived at the gates of Babylon, it was the Jews who opened the gates for him. In a single day, he became Cyrus the Great. And Persia became master of the world. Of course, Cyrus was grateful. He extended every privilege to the Jews. Alas, it was not long before the spider was spinning his web in the dusty ruins of Cyrus's palace. The Jews had a thriving and prosperous community in Babylon, and they lived there for hundreds of years. Yet they eagerly destroyed Babylon because of a chance to make a deal with the Persians. Not only that, but in their anxiety to conceal the record of their treachery, they destroyed every library in Babylon, and ever since, they have fulminated against the Babylonians with all the hatred of which they are capable. And remember, Babylonia is over there where Iraq is. So they were destroying Iraq again. The whore of Babylon. Who has not heard that phrase? Yet classical scholars tell us that the Babylonians were a sober and decent people, devoted to the arts and a gracious living. Nevertheless, the Jews have been able to impress upon the world their distorted version of a nation living only for depravity. What should we believe? I was reading this book and I go, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But when I think about it, we do know these things. Babylon falling, and Egypt falling, and Rome falling, and Russia falling, and Britain, chaos and anarchy, and France, and so much more. The books that YouTube is actually banning and taking down when I talk about these things, or putting up restrictions and making people agree to warnings if they watch these videos. In all of recorded history, there was only one civilization which the Jews could not destroy. Because of this, they have given it the silent treatment. Few American graduates with a PhD degree can tell you what the Byzantine Empire was. It was the empire of East Rome, and set up by the Roman leaders after the Jews had destroyed Rome. The empire functioned in Constantinople for 1,200 years, the longest duration of any empire in the history of the world. Throughout the history of the Byzantine, it was known by imperial edict, no Jew was allowed to hold any post in the empire, nor was he allowed to be educated the youth. So the Byzantine Empire, it lasted 1,200 years, and this author is suggesting it's because the Jews were not allowed to engage in any controlling functions in the empire. The Byzantine Empire finally fell to the Turks after 12 centuries of prosperity, and the Jews have attempted to wipe out all traces of its history. Yet its edicts against the Jews were not cruel. In fact, the Jews lived unmolested and prosperously in the empire throughout its history. But here alone, the vicious cycle of host and parasite did not take place. It was a Christian civilization, and the Jews were not able to exercise any influence. Nor did the Orthodox priest bewilder their congregations with any vicious lies about Christ being a Jew. No wonder the Jews want to eradicate the memory of such a culture. So this author is suggesting that Jesus Christ was not a Jew. And I was accepting the fact that he was. But when I think about it, I know that the Middle East had many other cultures beside the Jews. The Jews were just a small group in the bigger scheme of things in the Middle East and Europe. Just a small group. And apparently they had infiltrated Babylon and were taken into captivity, and in Egypt taken into captivity. So all of the Middle East were other peoples, including off towards the north, white peoples, and off towards the east, Europe, and in Spain, in that area, Milano, brown people. So this author here is suggesting that Jesus Christ was not a Jew. It was Urza Pound who launched upon a study of Byzantine civilization and who reminded the world of this happily non-Jewish land. So the Byzantine land, which is just west of the Middle East, and it is east of Germany and Britain and Spain and France, right in the middle of the Byzantine Empire, right above the Mediterranean, sits above the coastline of Israel today that was Palestine yesterday, 1948. But a lot has happened since then. The answer to the Jewish problem is simple. According to this author, and I highlighted it, He said, keep them out of banking, out of education, and out of government. And we know now, of course, all these Jewish elites are holding all these posts. Even after 9/11, it was a Jewish elite put in charge of Homeland Security and FEMA and everything else. I think we're in trouble. In fact, every program in history has played into their hands and has in many instances been cleverly instigated by them. Get the Jews out of banking, and they cannot control the economic life of the community. Get the Jews out of education, and they cannot pervert the minds of the young to these subversive doctrines. Get the Jews out of the government, and they cannot betray the nation. Wow. Yes, I'm speechless. Scary stuff to read that kind of material and make a video. And then watch all these other videos with David Icke and Dane Wigington and Richie from Boston and Lisa Haven. And what are we to think? What are we to do? Can think of one thing. Talk to God. Not talk to God. Don't join these people. Just say no. No to the serpent, Satan. Just say no. Thank you for watching my video. Rick Maricom reporting.